let's talk about Colbert. All right. She goes on Colbert last night. And once again, she arrives as she did on The View yesterday to thunderous applause. You know, of course, they stack the audience with New Yorkers for the most part and Kamala fans. So it makes it look like she's got this same sort of support everywhere. It's 50-50 in the country right now. The polls are very, very tight. We'll have an update on just how tight in a bit. And Colbert asks her the question she's been getting asked. Would you do anything differently than what Joe Biden did? She was asked that on The View, and she gave Trump a campaign ad, which, as we predicted, Trump would make an ad out of within an hour. He did, where she said, no, we're the same. I was in on every major decision, which is a disaster for somebody who's running on, move forward. We can't go back. So now Colbert gives her another bite at the apple, and here is how that went in Sod 8.
Polling shows that a lot of people, especially independent voters, really want this to be a change election, and that they tend to break for you in terms of thinking about change. You are a member of the president's administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of... But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly, I love the American people, and I believe in our country. I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious people. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We have incredible work ethic. And I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity, and in that way grow the strength of our nation.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I asked my team to send me her interview. I didn't stay up and watch Colbert. And they sent it to me in 4 chunks. Debbie Murphy, I missed that chunk. I missed the chunk. I saw it written down in the packet as a highlight. That's the first time I've seen that. It's better as a surprise. You're right. That's Canadian Debbie in my ear. Batya, she had a brain glitch. She forgot the question she was asked. You could see she ran out. She was a blank. And then she went back to hopes, dreams, aspirations, and work ethic, which this audience knows we've gone through it umpteen times. That's her fallback. That's what she likes to say in response to almost everything. She's not a smart person.
I watched that clip like 30 times because it just keeps getting better and better. It's so amazing how her first answer is, well, I'm not Joe Biden, and then I don't think she realized that was going to be right. Like an applause line. They all laughed. And then, and I'm not Donald Trump, right? It was so amazing. And then you're totally right. There was a glitch, and then she moved into the stump speech, right? Here's the thing, Megyn. She's not doing this media blitz to convince anybody to vote for her. She's doing the media blitz to reassure the rich people who are already in her camp that she can land this thing, right? She's not actually out there trying to convince swing voters. She's out there speaking to the very wealthy people who are already in her corner. And why do I say wealthy people in her corner? Well, here are a few statistics, okay? In 2020, 250 billionaires went for Joe Biden, and only 14% went for Donald Trump. And since 2020, venture capital donors have donated to Democrats at 75%. Hedge fund donors, 68%. Donors of the big 3 management consultant companies, Megyn, 95% of their donations go to Democrats. We talked last time about the Oprahs and the Meryl Streeps this is who the Democratic Party is. It is rich people who don't have real problems. So how do you get them to feel excited about you? Word salad is fine for them because all they want to see is their own vanity reflected back at them. And just as proof of this, you know that this is an election of one side representing the rich and one side representing the working class, because one side is talking about real problems and one side is talking about made up problems, right? What's Kamala Harris running on? An abortion ban that Donald Trump promised he was going to veto, right? A threat to democracy, allegedly, in the form of Donald Trump, the most popular politician in America, right? And the so-called divisiveness of Donald Trump, who has unified working class Americans of all races for the first time in generations. These are made up problems to make rich people feel like they're backing something important. Now look at what Donald Trump is running on. A wide open border, which has resulted in crime, but more importantly, the absolute plummeting of the wages of working class Americans. Donald Trump is running on offshoring of manufacturing. Donald Trump is running on wages and working conditions for working class Americans. And most crucially, Donald Trump is running on the fact that for most working class Americans, the American dream has become a fantasy, okay? So you look at the platforms of both sides and it immediately tells you not so much who the candidate is, but who their base is, who they're speaking to. It could not be clearer.
That's so interesting. Now, speaking of billionaires, this came up between Colbert and Kamala last night. Would you look at this, Satu?
There are quite a few billionaires who support you. You
Yes.
are from Northern California, after all,
Right.
where they grow them in fields out there. Who's your favorite billionaire? Because we all have a favorite billionaire. On three. 1, 2, 3. Oprah. I'm sorry. I claimed Oprah. You can't take her now.
It's stomach turning to me. What's happened to him is what happens to virtually every news personality and late night personality and host of popular shows, podcasts, etc., which is they start getting invited to parties with Jennifer Aniston, etc. And they start thinking they're finally one of the cool kids. Everyone likes them. They can go to parties where they see very well-known Hollywood stars who make them feel important, like they're on the inside circle. And then they drink the Kool-Aid and they start talking like that in a way that really projects, I have no balls. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my testicles. Perhaps you would like to take them, madam. I see you've taken them from your vice president. It's amazing to me that he would embarrass himself that way and that they would think it's good politics to get up there being so chummy chum about how close they are with billionaires like Oprah.
Somebody tweeted this. I wish I remember who it was, but it is so smart. He said, Colbert came up and made his name playing a loving portrayal of a sort of useful idiot, a sort of dum-dum on the right who meant well, but was, a real idiot. And now he's playing a useful idiot in a very loving portrayal of the left, a real dum-dum who means well, but doesn't know anything, only he doesn't realize it this time. And I thought that was so apt. It is so sad what has happened to him because his initial portrayal of the sort of useful idiot of the right was truly very lovable. I mean, he managed in his iteration on The Daily Show to sort of have a kind of compassionate take on the side he didn't agree with. But now that he is stuck, as you say, sort of licking the boots of those in power on the left, all of the charm has sort of seeped out of it. And all he is right now is an apparatchik of the Democratic Party, effectively. He's Pravda for the Democratic Party. He exists in order to sanitize the worst parts of their agenda. And it really breaks my heart, Megyn.
It's crazy because he's at least news adjacent over there at CBS. I mean, literally news adjacent. Like the whole organization is a stone's throw from his studio. So he understands what's in the news because that is what he bases his monologue on at night. It's always one-sided, but he understands what's in the news. And so you would think he would understand one basic fact about foreign relations. No wars under Trump and wars under Harris-Biden. Okay? Like Ukraine, for example. You don't have to be neck deep in foreign policy. You don't have to be going to the Council on Foreign Relations to figure out that Ukraine, there's a direct line from our disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Both left and right-leaning foreign policy analysts have said so. So she gets out there and starts talking about how Trump can't handle these authoritarians from other countries. He's an idiot. He's the useful idiot in their hands. He gets played. And then she spins it into a comment on the latest Woodward book. He always drops these books right before elections and people freak out. Oh my God, oh, look at that. And then they mean nothing. But there's a tidbit in there about Trump allegedly sending Putin COVID tests in 2020. Literally nobody gives two shits whether he did that or not. I mean, truly, nobody who's not a far left Democrat cares about. So what? Look at this.
He has said he wants to be a dictator on day one if he were elected again as president. He gets played by these guys. He admires so-called strongmen, and he gets played because they flatter him or offer him favor. Everything I've heard about Bob Woodward's book is right. Donald Trump secretly sent COVID test kits to Putin for his personal use. I ask everyone here and everyone who is watching, you remember what those days were like? You remember how many people did not have tests and were trying to scramble to get them? You remember how rare it was to have one? You remember people by the hundreds were dying every day, and this man is giving COVID test kits to Vladimir Putin?
I do remember what those days were like. There was no war. There was no invasion by Russia and Vladimir Putin of Ukraine. And no one gives a damn whether he, in an effort to maintain a relationship with Putin, which might be potentially important for a president, gave him, the leader of another country, some tests to figure out whether he had COVID. This is, she thinks she's slamming the ball here. She thinks she's having an end zone moment, Batya.
It's so funny. She's talking like COVID tests are COVID vaccines. You know what I mean? Like the outrage in her voice, it's as if they had the ability to like cure somebody.
That's
You're
how
totally
the left is.
Right, Megyn. You are totally right. In 2020, there was no Ukraine war because Donald Trump had good relationships with Putin. And when he becomes president again, if he becomes president again, he will again have a good relationship with Putin, which is what you want when you're trying to end a war with somebody like Putin who has nuclear weapons.
If you're tired of those same old coffee offerings from those mega corporations pushing their woke agendas, listen up. It's time to take a stand and support a brand that truly embodies American values, Blackout Coffee. They stand with hardworking Americans who believe in family, faith, and freedom. They roast some of the most incredible coffee you will ever taste using only premium grade beans, roasted and shipped to you within 48 hours. And for the cold brew fans, Blackout Coffee is excited to announce the launch of their new 2 ready-to-drink cold brew coffee latte options. Don't settle for less. Make the switch to Blackout Coffee. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com/MK or use the code MK for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/MK. The code is MK. Join the movement. Taste the difference. Remember, with every sip, you are supporting a brand that stands for America. Be awake, not woke. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.